Great. Just want to welcome everybody to the Charlotte Black Film Festival Facebook Live. And tonight is a very special night in our Filmmakers Q&A, for we have the feature film, which is Block 5 Filmmakers. So probably out of all of our categories, these are the individuals that probably put in the most work, the most dealt with the most difficult people, had to come up with the most amount of money, the largest crew base. I mean, feature films. There's a lot of individuals in the short film category who has an ultimate goal of creating or producing a feature film. Some do and some don't. So first of all, let me say congratulations to you guys for just accomplishing the feat of completing, feature film. And with that said, I'm going to have you go around the room and introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from and the name of your film. And let's let ladies go first.
Hi, I'm Joan McCarthy. I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. And go Charlotte, right? I am a producer on the American King film.
Wow, and you're from Charlotte.
How? I am. I'm from Pineville.
Oh, who knew? And
I know, Pineville girl.
Next, any one of you guys can go next.
My name is PJ Barnes, Plymouth Jones. I am a producer, co-producer, and actor for All We Got feature film with Screw Up TV. That's us there.
Absolutely.
I'm also from Charlotte, more or less. I've been out here for most of my life, about 22 years since I was a young chap. So
chap. So that you've been here a while when you say chap.
I've been since '98. Yeah,
I want to say your name correctly. Pronounce your name.
Ada Obekpa.
Obekpa? Obekpa?
Yeah, Obekpa. Yeah. Just pronounce as written.
First name.
Obekpa. Ada.
Ada. Okay, great. Ada. Go ahead and introduce yourself and the name of your film and where you're from.
Okay, so I'm Ada Obekpa, currently based in New York, but originally from Nigeria. And my film is The American King.
What was your role in that film?
So I'm executive producer and director on the film.
Awesome. Well, look, let's start there then. Let's go ahead and start with your film because at first you look at your film and it had this coming to America feel, but then you took it on a different journey, this mystical journey that had, almost these superpowers or, it really turned and made it more of a unique film. Share where the idea for that film came about.
All right, it's interesting. It's a story that we've been trying to tell for a while. And two of the most iconic films that connect a lot with the Black community, not just in America, but globally, were Coming to America, which was the first one by Eddie Murphy, and of course, recently, the Black Panther. So those are two films that people could really connect with. So we wanted to tell a story that sort of merged the two worlds. One that's comedy and fun, but also that talks about a critical aspect of our history, which is the experience in the Americas.
Yeah.
But a lot of the films that have been done about African Americans in America have solely focused on the story of slavery, talking mainly about the trauma attached to that experience.
Yes.
And we feel that our history and our story isn't just the 400 years of enslavement or subjugation here in the US, but there are thousands of years of glorious history. And of course, want to project a future that takes us back to our glorious moment. So really, that was sort of the focus of the film.
Interesting.
So we see it more like a film of love, healing, and restoration. Basically, those are the three themes that we wanted to address in the film. A story.
There's a fourth theme that I saw. and that would be called transformation.
Yeah, so the restoration, transformation, and reparation, all of that
Yes.
coming together. So a story really can cause trauma, and a story can also bring about healing. So I feel that we've been putting out stories that remind us of the traumatic period in our history, but we're not telling stories that bring about healing, stories that talk about love, and of course that help to project a better future for ourselves. So really that's the purpose of telling that story. And of course, we're in 2020, 2021, where we're talking about celebrating 400 years of of Africans in America. So we wanted to tell a different story, a narrative that restores us to our wholeness.
Good, good. Hold that thought, because I have so many questions about your film and kind of what took place there. PJ, with all we got. I mean, was that shot in Charlotte? And,
yes, sir.
And tell me about the basic foundation of that story. What influenced that particular story?
Yeah. So we honestly, it started off with my co-producer and I, Keith Wellborn. We start off just wanting to create a project using the four leads: me, Keith, Alicia Price, and Natasha Adams, and we were trying to figure out like what story are we going to use, and we decided to come up with something simple. You know, it's really easy to kind of go something crazy. You know, do like a sci. I mean, honestly, originally I had a crazy idea of doing like some kind of Western movie, but we would not have the budget to make that look good at all. You know, so I mean, Keith was like, look, let's go ahead and do a family film. And as soon as he said, let's do a family film, then the wheels start turning. And I feel Keith a lot of times just kind of does that to me, plants an idea in my head and sends me off to go write in my cave for a little bit. And the goal was to make a family film that, one, everybody can relate to. You know, everybody has a family. One that showed that told a different story in the Black community that wasn't your typical what you usually see out there in media. You know, and one that's more it's raw, it's emotional. It deals with everybody having to deal with these hard conversations that people have to have, that families have to have, and how having those hard conversations, you end up growing and at the very least being able to see things from like people's other people's point of view. But honestly, yeah, it just came from wanting to create a strong story with a lot of the talent we have out here in Charlotte. All the actors were classically trained in theater and whatnot, and so I just wanted to get us together, utilize that talent, get us on a platform, and tell a raw, authentic story that we can all kind of groove to.
Good, good. Joanne, you are in Charlotte. Ada is in New York. How did you two guys connect for this particular film?
I'm actually in LA. I've been out here for about 13 years now, 15 years. I don't know, I lost track. I grew up in Charlotte though. Ada and I were connected through a mutual friend, and we just kind of hit it off and knew we'd work well together.
Wow.
A couple of years ago. When was it? 2016?
This your first project together?
Together, yes.
And talk about, did you leave Charlotte specifically for this particular industry? That's why you went to New York? I mean, LA?
I did. I did, yeah.
So if you don't mind, tell us, what were you doing in Charlotte that took you to that place where you said, for me to grow and expand my career, to really get into the industry, I need to go to LA. But what were you doing here locally that, you know, say, hey, I need to take it to the next level?
Honestly, Tommy, I wasn't doing much. I was young, I was naive, and I was, just fresh out of college. The boyfriend at the time said he wanted to move to California. I was like, I want to live in California. I want to be an actress. So I moved out there. I know.
So we call that fate.
I ended up marrying the guy, so that's good.
Okay, that's good.
It was fate, yeah.
That's funny. Tell him we appreciate him. And so talk about your locations for both of you guys. because you guys, where was your film set? Because you went from multiple scenes, and I'm trying to think in my head, where really is this film being shot? Explain where those locations were.
Well, the locations were primarily in Los Angeles and Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, and a smaller city in Nigeria. So there are 3 main locations.
And so that was actually in Africa where we saw the mansion. Was that in Africa?
Well, that was in Los Angeles. Yeah,
Yeah.
but the airport scene and a couple of the other scenes were in Nigeria. Yeah.
Gotcha. So to add some flavor, you had to pull in certain things that have a large production value, but to have locations.
Sure.
Yeah. And so what would you say if you had to do this film over again? What would be one thing that you would do differently?
One
Well,
thing.
that's
Only one. Only one.
Because we could be here all night.
Well, that's an interesting one. One thing to do differently. Wow. I really can't put my finger on one thing. I mean, I learned a lot during the process. So learning and knowing that no matter how well you plan, your budget might never always be enough. And things don't always work out as planned. So really, I wouldn't do anything different. Really, sort of, I appreciate a lot of the experiences that went into making the movie. My background, it's actually in medicine. I'm a trained physician. So this is my first foray into storytelling.
Interesting.
Because I've always loved to tell stories that connect the African diaspora to Africa. So I grew up in Nigeria, and growing up as a kid, we're told a lot of stories about what was going on at the time of slavery. So we have a lot of oral history of people who were taken away and were never seen again. So long before coming into the US, sort of we had our own story and experience of the impact of the transatlantic slavery long before colonialism came. So moving into the US and living in America and interacting with African Americans and realizing that there's a lot of focus on the experience of slavery, the experience of the Africans who came here, but not much is being talked about their cousins that were left behind. So I just figured that there is a missing link.
Yeah.
How do we tell a story that bridges that gap and brings about healing for both sides? Yeah. So we have a saying that until the whole becomes one, until the divided house is united, both Africans on the continent and those in the diaspora will still have problems, getting their house together.
Yeah.
So really, this story, it's, for me, an extension of my practice as a physician. So is to use the story to bring about healing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I learned a lot during the making of the movie. So I mean, there are tons of things I'll do differently, but I really can't put my finger on the one thing which I think I'll do differently. But I've learned a lot, at least in making this one. So
yeah. Well, there are two industries that I find that folks make the largest transition out of. That is banking and healthcare. When I meet people who are in banking and healthcare, those are the individuals who will sometimes leave that particular industry and they're doing their passion, which is normally something artsy. I've experienced that a lot with people. PJ, talk about your film, because you had multiple locations, and
yes, sir.
Yeah, there was one location. I was trying to. It was an art place, I believe. Talk about the multiple locations you had, and what were you? Even your role, your character was in multiple locations. More,
right.
more than
yeah. I mean, we shot around Charlotte. I mean, we for the bar, we use Petra's bar, and we use that for 2 different bars because they have 2 different bar setups. So we used it for 2 different bar locations. You know, we used it for Flip's spot at the very beginning of the movie, and then the one that they actually open up. You know, we shot out Salisbury. Mama's house was out in Salisbury, or no, not Salisbury. With it's the one with the train. It's like right outside of Salisbury.
Belmont.
What is it? Belmont. No, it's they have like the train station. Oh man, okay, it's right. It's right in that area.
Okay.
Spencer. It's very tiny. It's very tiny.
Okay.
But we shot at Duff and Swap at Camp North, and that was the art exhibit at the end. But yeah, no, we wanted to get we wanted to make sure people knew that we shot this out in Charlotte. That's why we had like B-roll out there, and we wanted to keep it all things. We shot this right when things first started kind of opening back up last year, so we were very limited on what we had. But that did grant us the option of using the bar, you know, because the bar was closed. And so the owner of the bar, Perry Fowler, he has a band, Sinners and Saints, and I did an interview for them back in January, and I just did that for promotion for them, and just called them a favor during when things are opening back up, and it just kind of worked out that way. You know, I'm really big on. I'm a minimalist, mainly because it's like what I've had to do over the past. I'm really good at working like with whatever I had, you know, and so that's just what it's been. And you know, I've been doing this for a long time, but doing this big of a project where we knew that we wanted to put it out to the public, you know, it was like, let's make this as authentic as possible. Let's make sure that, you know, we cover all the bases. We got lucky with the quarantine where we had a few extra months, we had extra months to like write the script, and then the 4 main members of the cast were able to like do Zoom calls and rehearsals and really work on their characters and whatnot. But and then really have time to kind of figure out, okay, what are we going to have available to us, because you know everything's closed down. But yeah, mostly just places out here in Charlotte. And yeah, absolutely.
Interesting. Joanne, there's the role of a producer it depends what movie you're on, determine what kind of, you know what I mean? The role is so different based upon the movie, your movie set, or the requirements or the needs for that particular production. As a producer of this film, what was your main role in this particular film?
The best part about working on this film is that I didn't really have a main role. I was able to, you know, look for locations. I helped with a little bit of script writing. I helped with, you know, hiring crafty and pretty much working with, you know, some of the actors. So I was able to do a lot of everything. It's pretty much I wore like every man's hat, and then I was able to delegate a little bit. It was just my producer role came with a lot of hats, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I don't know, a lot of, you know, like you said, there's some producers who are just, you know, the money backing, and they'll come in and look and watch, but that's not the way I like to be a part of production. And that's actually why Ada and I got along so well. I was like, okay, this is what I know what to do, and he's like, that's what I want.
Yeah.
So it worked out well.
That's good. He allowed the freedom and for you to be able to roll in that capacity. You know what I mean? You know, throwing your ideas out for the script. Hey, this is how I see it, or whatever. So that's awesome that he allowed that to happen. I mean, because some directors or writers, they're very, very strict as well. You know what I mean? And you know, they want to control everything. So you know, so that's awesome that you can do that as well. Miss Black, hello. How are you? We cannot hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and the name of your film.
Okay, my name is Janaya Black. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and the name of my film is Turn of the Cheek.
Turn of the Cheek, awesome, awesome. Which is a feature film.
Yes, which is a feature film about forgiveness and in the most unimaginable way. And it's kind of an emotional roller coaster, to say the least.
As we talked to some of the others, it just came on. Tell us what inspired you to, did you write the script? What was
Yes, I wrote it and directed it, and the inspiration just came from my husband and I. We do faith-based films, and it was just really heavy on my heart to do something about forgiveness, and so I took that concept and went to an extreme with it that I thought could be explored to help people, really take an honest look at situations in their lives to see, if fences could be healed and people be released from grudges and just the heaviness of carrying around unforgiveness.
I'm glad you said that you went to the extreme. I'm glad you said that because yeah, you did. You took it to the extreme.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it was definitely a subject that I don't think I could have reacted to in the way that the characters did. But God forgives us all the time. So
absolutely. When you look at the production, who did the casting? Talk about the casting. You had Akon as the main character, correct?
no.
Yeah.
The
Akon. No, Ada did. Just up top, he did. He had Akon as his main character. How did that happen, and how did you see him as the representative of your film?
Well, that's very
Do you mean to
interesting.
do that one?
Yeah, it's very
I had
interesting.
worked with
Uh-oh.
Go ahead. I was gonna say I'd worked with Akon before, and so I'd had an experience with him and knew his skills and knew what he could bring. But Ada, do you have any? What were your thoughts
and
on
of
that?
course, initially we weren't actually at the onset thinking of him as being the lead, but in the process of the pre-production, so we got talking and he was like, this is part of the story he's also been wanting to tell. He did his Akon Light in Africa. So he says he has a strong passion also to connect the African diaspora to Africa. So somehow it was a great feat. And that was how he came on board.
Got you. And the rest of the cast, who did the casting on your film?
Yeah, John did a lot of that, but also, John, what's the name of the other casting director brought in
Casting
earlier?
director.
Yeah, but a lot of that I'll give credit to John because I'm out here in New York, still practicing medicine, flying back and forth. So a lot of the work on the LA end were actually facilitated by John, and she did a great work with that.
See, she didn't tell us that part.
Thanks.
Talk about that. Talk about your process.
We did have a casting agent that did help us and assisted us and got us, names, and then we did full auditions and callbacks and found. We actually went through 2 different roles for the main female lead, and turned out one of them just wasn't a good fit once we started filming, which was a tough reset. But then we were able to find female, the lead, KK, and everything just kind of fell into place once we found her. So that was nice.
PJ, how about you? Your cast, you said that you were looking at, Charlotte. So I'm sure you probably had experience with some of these actors, or no? What was your process to cast for this film?
Yeah, so a lot of them, I'm just a fan of talent. I've always been a fan of talent, and so honestly, I've been back in Charlotte for about 5 years, and so since past 5 years, there's been certain people who I'm like, I want to work with this person at one point. I'm going to find a way, and so it was mostly that, and for extra roles that I didn't have, I reached out to my agency and said, hey, we're looking for, I don't know anybody that fits this archetype right here. Can you send out a casting for that? But most of it were people who I work. The main cast were people who I worked with mostly separately, never together. And other people were people who I spoke to at one point or another and said, hey, I respect the talent. I would love to work with you at some point. And this happened to be that time. But it was mostly just me finally getting to work with people, people who I had never even met personally, but would see their work and I got to reach out to them and just make that leap. And so, absolutely.
So, Ms. Black, when you looked at your film, what was the, who was the first person? Who did you see starring in this movie? What characteristics, or was it the male, the female? You know, when you wrote this particular script, you know, that female lead had to be a very, very special person. How did you go about casting for your film?
It was really just kind of I had an idea, like I didn't really know what she looked like per se, but it just had to be the persona that the character gave off. And when we had our auditions, Crystal Lene Hill, who ended up playing the role, she just exuded that motherly sense of just that motherly characteristic that I needed for that role, and also the headstrong woman. That's just who she is in real life, and because we worked together before. So when she sent in her audition reel, I kind of just already knew. So, but I was also looking at other people, so it ended up pretty much as being a formality, because like she already has that in her real life persona, so it just was an automatic fit. And then when she read with Akila Shakur, who ended up playing her husband, because we had cast the son first. And so when they all came together in the audition room, it was just like, that's it right there.
Oh, wow. Wow. Talk about where you guys, and let's start with you, PJ. Do you approach a feature film? This is for everyone. Do you approach this with the distribution strategy in mind? So when you're writing this script, you're creating this film, the distribution strategy in mind, the options of that in the beginning.
Yes, sir. This particular film about, I've been, because I had worked on a film a few years ago that I decided that we were going to try to self-distribute. In fact, this film we had originally intended on self-distribution, signing up for with Film Hub and just doing it that way. And then like we were kind of in the process of doing that, and we just randomly just submitted to a distribution company, just like we told ourselves. And if they say yeah, we'll say psych, but then they say yeah, and we're like, yo, let's hold on now, let's talk about this. And but honestly, like up until that moment, I was 1,000% self-distribution. I probably watched every single YouTube video on YouTube that has the words film self-distribution or distribution in it. I've been big on just trying to keep up with streaming and AVOD and TVOD and all that stuff, and just because going into the future, I mean, just because where everything's going, streaming is what's happening, and so I'm trying to figure out what the best strategy is now, get good at that, or get familiar with it now, so then on the next few projects, I kind of know what to do, which is already kind of flipped because I thought I knew the way, which is shoot the project first, and then self-distribute. But I'm now realizing there's projects that get distribution before anything's shot. I'm currently working on a project, and there's once the script is ready, there's like a distribution company who's ready to go, and that's all. So everything that I learned with his last film is being completely turned upside down. But I guess in a nutshell, answer your question, going through this whole thing, I definitely I know exactly how to get this out to Amazon and Tubi and everything like that. And just doing this for so long, it's like I'm gonna find a way how, if anything goes wrong, I can only blame myself. I don't want to keep trying to like give it or hope somebody else gives us the key to something and whatnot. So that was the mindset.
Oliver, when you did American King, I know you wanted to get the story out, but what was your distribution strategy? Okay, the movie's done. You submitted it to a few film festivals. You have this star, Akon, in it. What was your plan? Or is that a Joanne question or combination?
Well, it's a
Definitely more of an
combination.
Ada, but combo.
Well, as you said, the film is actually a work of passion. So right from the beginning, the focus was on, getting the story out, having the film made in a way that it tells the story that we really want to tell. So that is the difficult part, and we're very glad and grateful that that part has been done. But at the same time, we're working on doing an independent film and also to do our own distribution, sort of to have an opportunity sort of to learn the ropes. Then shortly after we finished shooting, the pandemic came and everything got shut down. So literally everything goes to the streaming platforms. So we've learned a lot in the last couple of months trying to navigate that, which was a blessing. But in a way, to answer your question, we're still sort of in the process of figuring out the best way of marketing it. So this is our first production anyway. So hopefully we'll get some help or lead from you guys also. But we haven't finally figured out that part yet.
Is this your first film?
Yeah.
First film. Wow. And you jumped right out into the feature film world. Wow. How about you? When you did you have a distribution, Ms. Black, strategy when you get the
Yes.
Okay.
We had well, when we did our first movie, it was called Till Death Do Us Part. We went through Maverick, and that was a horrible experience. They completely raped us, and to this day, that movie's probably made close to $2 million. We haven't seen a dime. And so from that, we were just like, never again will we put ourselves in that position. So we were fortunate to hook up with a company called Indie Rights, who I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
We're with
them. They were indie filmmakers, so they understood the struggle, and it's been a great experience with them. They pay on time. This time around, we built a relationship with a company called Cult Studios, who they're also here in Detroit, and they're a little bit more flexible with their timetable. And they're also filmmakers who just really learn and study the game. They have like 5 or 6 films that are doing phenomenally. They were able to build relationships with all the major platforms. And so we've gone with them for our last 2 projects, and it's been a great experience with them as well. So we just really got turned off from any type of major distribution. We've been enjoying going the indie distribution route.
Yes. Yeah, that's interesting. So when we talk about streaming, and you guys mentioned that earlier, do you guys follow the Netflix standard equipment list? They have a shooting specs. They have this whole spec sheet for what they want you to use, or the equipment or the options, in order for it to be Netflix ready. Do you guys follow that, or what kind of equipment do you guys use, and how did you make that decision on your equipment?
For our camp, we Netflix isn't really like in our scope of vision at all, just because we enjoy doing the indie, and we understand that if we go with the Netflix, they're not going to pay us really. So we're just turned off to anything mainstream. But we shoot with the Red and also the Black Magic. Our last film was shot in 6K, which I prefer to stick with the 4K. But because I edit as well, and it's just a little bit easier to work with that footage. But I just be honest, we're not concerned with industry standards. We kind of march to the beat of our own drum, and just what works well for us, and what we're able to effectively market and put out ourselves.
Good. And I think this is good stuff, because you say you shoot with a Red and a Black Magic, and you edit with what?
I use Final Cut Pro X.
Okay, Final Cut. Okay, good. Most folks, they say it's a hyped up movie maker or something like that. When they make the
yeah. For Premiere, a lot of people like Premiere. So just Final Cut so user friendly. I just stick with what I know.
PJ, what kind of equipment, or do you follow that Netflix standard, or what is the equipment that you guys use?
Yeah, I mean, so we just got a better camera. We just upgraded to 6K Black Magic, but right along, Netflix I think is the only one that will require 4K. But right along, like unless like got an in or like a Netflix original project, they're probably going to give you like a one-time payout, and that's probably just from like everything I've looked at, and but everything else is, I think, has pretty much the same kind of what are they called? what are they called when you upload them to the deliverables? Everything else I'm pretty sure is about the same. I think Netflix is the only one who require that 4K. Yeah. But you can do 4K on your phone at this point. But I think we were mostly looking at everything else as far as iTunes, Tubi, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and Apple TV. Those seem to be even our demographic. Even as more people are consuming other things other than Netflix. Netflix is more for like series anyway, and I like what we're doing is focusing on feature films.
And what camera do you use? And if you edit, what do you edit with?
That's for me.
Are you asking?
No, PJ.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So we use the Blackmagic now. I think Aaron was on the 60D. I've been a Final Cut guy since 06. And I'm sure DaVinci and Premiere are great. But I'm gonna stick with what I know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have all of them, so I'm trying to figure out which one. So you guys are encouraging me because I'm a Mac guy, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Jumped around with DaVinci and all that stuff. So good. Ada, go ahead. What do you guys use for this particular film? Because there were so many different looks. There were a lot of different looks in this film, and so probably based upon your different locations. So what were you guys using?
A lot of that was based on some of our locations, but the majority of our film was shot with the Arri Alexa. I believe we did have Red for a couple of them, but the majority of it was Alexa. And then our editor used Final Cut, but I think he finished with Premiere because I know that he said that he had it in Premiere as well as Final Cut. We had both.
And so as far as let's talk about sound before we don't scoring your film. How involved were you guys with the scoring aspect of your film? And I asked that question because I love music, right? And so sometimes somebody would tell me a story and I see it when I hear it. But I probably and I hear the music too. So I would probably have to be there co-scoring my film. How do you guys what level of participation did you have on scoring your film?
I'm definitely all up in the mix for the scoring, and our scoring team is amazing. They are so intuitive, and this was working with the score team on Turn of the Cheek. That was my first time working with them, and that was the first time that I could just sit with them the first go round and go through and tell them exactly what the feeling was. And then they would send me, updates every week, and I would be like, okay, no, I don't like this. No, I want it to sound a little bit like this. And then when we sat down for the final go through, I don't think I had to change more than 3 things.
Yeah. Interesting. Now, Joan, if you tell me you were in sound too, you're not you're something else. Were you on the sound as well?
No, you gotta talk to Ada for that one.
That's the only thing you didn't do.
I helped a little bit, but he's the one that picked the majority of the soundtrack, actually. We did have someone who scored our music, and we helped hone it in. But Ada's soundtrack. He's your guy.
Yeah, and Ada, being the film that you made, you're this culturally based film. Your music, it had to be, it had to pull people in because you're talking about, coming from Africa. You had to, so the music was very, important. Talk about how you approached that and what level of participation you had with the score.
Yeah, so for the film score itself, we worked with a guy out of, I think, North Carolina also, Joe, a very nice guy, and he was very involved. But when that was done, we actually wanted to put out a movie soundtrack, and we wanted some original songs that can go with the feel, the emotions in the movie. So we reached out to a couple of young artists, both in Africa and here in the US. And we're able to select from a couple of songs. And we now created an album. So those songs that are part of the film are also part of the music soundtrack for the movie also. So we wanted the music also to help tell the story. And that was why we chose the songs that we chose in the different parts of the scenes that the songs played in. So in a way,
any artists from Nigeria?
Yes, the Reggae Smith. So a couple of his songs are in there. Then a couple of other artists from out in Los Angeles. Yeah.
Good, good. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and the album is also out too. So
album is. We need to put that in the link. You put that in the chat. How can we find the album? This will be on our Facebook page. So hopefully you guys will share this to your page. But please add the link where they can see your trailer or how they can pay to watch your film. Right now, it's on our platform. But how can they get more information about you and all this other good stuff like that? So place that in the chat here on the Facebook page. But the link to the soundtracks, definitely want to hear that. Definitely want to hear that. So let's promote that. PJ, how about yourself?
Yeah, for the most part, I've always been a big proponent of independent artists, and so I use mostly local Charlotte artists for most of the tracks. For the main track, my wife's younger brother's in a band, so I asked him and his band to create the main song for the movie, and so that was great. The one that plays at the end and throughout the whole thing, the whole Funky Granny track, that was created for the movie. But for the most part, it was reaching out to local artists here, ones I've worked with, ones who I've heard about, and just finding ones whose tone fit different scenes. I would listen to a scene, or sometimes I would just hear somebody's song and say, "Oh, this is perfect for this one scene in the movie," and just reach out to the artist and do it kind of that way.
Good, that's good. Guys, tell me this. We're going to shut it down, but what are you guys working on now? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are you working on right now? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? Start with you, Joanne.
Right now, we're just working on distribution and trying to figure that out, like Ada said. And I am just being a mom right now. I kind of took a little break after this one. So,
right. But you also film. When are you going to write yours? Because when is yours going to come out? Because it's all on you.
You talking to me still?
Yes. When is your film going to come out?
I guess it Juneteenth, yesterday. We just got to get the word out now. That's our goal.
Got you. Awesome. PJ, what are you working on, and where will you be in 5 years?
Yes, sir. Currently, I mainly we do sketch comedy. So at Scoop TV, cheap plug. But mainly we do sketch comedy. That's all the time. But we are working on a feature film right now. It's a haunted house film. We're hoping to be shooting that, end of this year, beginning of next year, once everything is in line. But my main thing is to continue building up film out here in Charlotte. Over the next few years, we have a small little office. We're hoping to build a studio space within the next year or so. Hopefully give people just an opportunity to come in and film and participate and whatnot. But just to continue just building the word that there's great film out here in Charlotte.
Yeah, we appreciate that too. So we're going to have an all Charlotte conversation here the last day of the festival in the same.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, so we can really talk and get the word out and build up our, probably the same thing in Michigan. We're kind of off the cuff when it comes to New York and LA. And so we really have to work on the independent and get the word out and collaborate and make things happen. So definitely appreciate that. Ada, what you got going on? What's your next move? Now you're practicing medicine, you're a doctor. Now you got the film bug. I know you got the bug. I know you have the bug. So I know you're still working with this one, but I know your mind is already thinking about the next one. What is that?
Yeah, we're still working on this one, trying to get it out. But the next one really is a continuation of the theme of this film. So part of the production company behind this film, it's an organization called Doctors Charity. It's a nonprofit. Yeah. And we do a lot of work in Africa. So the focus really is how do we connect the African diaspora to Africa to help with the healing. So long before this film was done, that has been the focus of Doctors Charity, which is the organization. So just like in the film, that an American became king and went to rebuild and fix Africa, it is sort of the purpose of Doctors Charity. So that is sort of the next chapter, to get as many African Americans or Africans in the diaspora interested in doing work in Africa. And hopefully that can help to bridge that gap and also continue with the prophecy that the movie talks about. Yeah. So really everything else we're going to be doing is going to be around connecting the diaspora to the motherland.
Good, good. I have a nonprofit called Power Up USA, and we teach gaming, coding, digital filmmaking for young people. And we work with a ministry in Lagos, Nigeria, and we do culture exchange. So we've been doing that for the last year for those students there. So we're doing what we can here, and we're working with some kids there. So I love it. I enjoy it. They have my logo on their step and repeat every time they do an event. So it's really, really awesome to do that. Great.
All right, that's great.
Yeah, Ms. Black, what's happening? I like to talk to you some more about that work as well, how we can expand it with the kids.
Sure, that would be great. Yep.
Good. Okay, Ms. Black, what you got? You said multiple things. You had 2 deals. You already worked with this independent distribution company. You talking about the other deal with Maverick. How many projects do you have total in the can?
I think we've done 7 total. Actually, our 7th, my husband and I are business partners as well. And we just released a film called Dear Future Husband, which actually premiered on Amazon today.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, we're on the promotional run for that one. And we start pre-production. Well, we're in pre-production for a movie we start shooting in September called Street Code Broken. So we're really diligently trying to put out a film a year.
Wow. In 5 years, where will you be in 5 years?
Only God knows. Prayerfully, we'll still be able to make movies.
Make movies and make money, right?
Yes.
Make movies and make money so you can continue to make movies.
Exactly.
Well, good, guys. Well, hey, I just appreciate you guys taking the time out here and submitting your films to the Charlotte Black Film Festival. I know we're in a real unique time with the COVID and things ending, but we really appreciate that. Hopefully we see you guys at the Red Carpet Vision Awards, where we're going to announce the best films, the best actor and actress comes from our feature film category in our best director. So know that, because you guys, like I said earlier on, most of the work happened in our feature films. Most of the money's paid through feature films. And so those categories are tied to our feature films, and that will take place on the 26th. So once again, guys, I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you guys and seeing the other great things you guys will be doing. All right.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Good
you.
night.